Listen closely. That sound isn't pulled from the soundtrack of a sci-fi thriller, nor is it the transmission of some extraterrestrial vessel drifting through the cosmos. That anomaly belongs to our very own planet. In 2014, this bizarre metallic resonance was captured in the most desolate, isolated corner of Earth, a realm so absolute in its darkness, even the sun's rays dare not enter. As a species, we have always cast our gaze upward to the heavens. We've conditioned ourselves to believe that space is the final frontier. We've planted our flags in the lunar dust, meticulously mapped the crimson topography of Mars, and now we are hunting for signs of life among the stars. But the undeniable truth is, lying directly beneath our feet is an alien realm, a world we understand far less than the surface of Mars. Plunged deep within the western Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of the Philippines, lies a gaping abyssal scar, violently carved across the face of our planet. Welcome to the Mariana Trench. This is Earth's very own underworld, an abyss so profoundly deep, its true scale simply defies human comprehension. To truly grasp this staggering depth, forget mountains. Let's take the absolute pinnacle of human engineering, the Burj Khalifa, standing at a colossal 2,717 feet. Now, imagine for a moment, if we anchored it to the absolute bottom of the Mariana Trench and began stacking these architectural leviathans end to end. Not just one, not two. You would need to stack 13 of these towering monoliths, one upon the other, just to finally breach the ocean's surface. Let that sink in. 13 of the world's tallest megastructures, entirely swallowed by the sea. That is the sheer, terrifying scale of this abyss. An 11-kilometer descent into the void. The darkness down here is so absolute, so suffocating, it chills you to your very core. But down here, the true terror isn't the depth, it's the catastrophic pressure. With every meter we descend, the ocean itself becomes a hostile entity. The crushing force exerted on every single square inch of the hull is so immense, it is the exact equivalent of a full-grown African elephant balancing its entire weight on your thumbnail. A force so violently unforgiving, it can crumple the world's most reinforced steel submersibles like a discarded soda can. In this abyss, the margin for error is absolute zero. If even a microscopic hairline fracture were to breach our hull, we wouldn't just drown, we would implode. A violent structural collapse so instantaneous, death would arrive faster than the blink of an eye. Milliseconds before your nervous system could even register the concept of pain, you and this state-of-the-art vessel would be pulverized into nothingness. You cannot fight the laws of physics at these extremes, so are you brave enough to step aboard and plunge into the abyss to unravel the darkest secrets of the Mariana Trench? Then strap in tightly and hold your breath, because we are about to plunge into a realm where human existence is a direct violation of the laws of nature. Let us begin our descent into the deep. Chapter 1. Zones of the Ocean. The time has come to bid farewell to the world as you know it. Picture yourself sealed inside a state-of-the-art titanium submersible, journeying with us into the unknown. The hatches are hermetically sealed, life support systems are fully online, and now, we slowly begin our slip beneath the surface. 50 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters. The environment outside the viewport is rapidly transforming. The vibrant azure is slowly being swallowed by a cold, encroaching darkness. And now, we breach the 200-meter threshold. Cast your gaze beyond the reinforced viewport. Look upward. The sun, the comforting embrace of daylight, has withered into nothing more than a fading, ghostly memory. We are now penetrating the ominous realm marine biologists classify as the Twilight Zone. Down here, the fading light and encroaching darkness are locked in a perpetual, lethal game of cat and mouse. There are no rocky outcrops here, no subterranean crevices to offer sanctuary. There is only the vast, merciless expanse of the open abyss in every conceivable direction. The ultimate question is, in this vast, coverless arena, how do you evade the ocean's most ruthless predators? The answer is staring you right in the face. Look closely. You might not see a thing. And that is their ultimate weapon. The majority of creatures navigating these depths seem forged not from flesh and bone, but from living glass. They are completely transparent. Their evolutionary strategy is simple, yet brilliant. Allow whatever faint light trickles down from above to pass completely through them, casting absolutely no silhouette to alert the predators lurking beneath. In this perilous zone, there is only one absolute rule of survival. You must vanish, but drifting through this very gloom is a biological marvel that hasn't adapted transparency merely as a defensive shield. It has weaponized it. Behold the Barreleye fish, arguably the most profoundly bizarre anatomical anomaly on the planet. Look closely at its face. Those two small, dark indentations hovering just above its mouth. You'd naturally assume those are its eyes, correct? You would be mistaken. Those are merely its olfactory organs, its nostrils. Its actual eyes are encased deep within its skull. Yes, you heard that correctly. Its entire cranium is a transparent, fluid-filled dome, uncannily resembling the canopy of a highly advanced fighter jet. You are peering straight through its head, directly observing its brain and neural circuitry. And those two brilliant, glowing green orbs suspended deep within its transparent skull, those are its actual eyes. These highly specialized, tubular eyes are locked in a permanent upward gaze, meticulously scanning the fading twilight above for the slightest silhouette of descending prey. Evolution has bypassed a face of flesh and bone, outfitting it instead with a helmet of living glass. This creature isn't just an animal, it is a biomechanical masterpiece. But the Barreleye isn't the only anomaly in this zone. There is something else. An endless, silent storm continuously falling from the world above. Cast your eyes into the darkness. Does it look as though a gentle winter snow is falling in the abyss? No, that is not snow. Marine biologists refer to this phenomenon as marine snow. It sounds almost poetic, doesn't it? But the reality is far more macabre. What you are witnessing is, in fact, a perpetual shower of death descending from the sunlit world above. A grim concoction of disintegrating flesh, rotting vegetation, and biological waste. Whenever a creature perishes near the surface, its carcass slowly decomposes, shedding an endless trail of biological debris into the abyss. For millions of years, this morbid blizzard has been relentlessly snowing upon the Mariana Trench. But for the bizarre denizens of the Mariana Trench, this descending detritus is not garbage. To them, it is absolute biological gold. Photosynthesis cannot exist in this pitch-black void. The billions of organisms lurking down here survive entirely by waiting for this macabre feast to rain down upon them, waiting with jaws unhinged in the darkness. In this realm, the demise of the sunlit world above is the absolute lifeblood of the abyss below. And as we plunge deeper, piercing through these dense, swirling clouds of marine snow, the very last dying embers of sunlight are extinguished forever. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. Chapter 2, The Midnight Zone. Let us leave the Barreleye in our wake and plunge our state-of-the-art submersible even deeper into the void. Keep your eyes on the telemetry. Our descent rate is rapidly accelerating. 400 meters, 600 meters, 800 meters. The very last lingering traces of twilight blue have been completely swallowed by an absolute impenetrable blackness. And now, we have breached the 1,000-meter threshold. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. It earns its namesake because down here, the biological rhythms of day and night are rendered entirely meaningless. In this abyssal realm, the hands of time have frozen permanently at the stroke of midnight. Here, the darkness is absolute, a suffocating, pitch-black void. But If you believe there is nothing left to see down here, you are gravely mistaken. Because in this abyssal blackness, nature is about to unveil its most spectacular, living light show. The organisms that dwell here understand that the sun will never come to their rescue, and so evolution engineered a radical solution. If there is no light, we will forge our own. This phenomenon is known as bioluminescence. Now peer through the submersible's viewport once more. Suddenly, that deafening black silence erupts into thousands of piercing blue, emerald, and crimson biological flares. This isn't a fireworks display over a sprawling metropolis. This is the pyrotechnic symphony of the abyss. In this realm, the absolute blackness is merely a canvas, and life itself is the luminescent paint. But do not let this hypnotic beauty deceive you, because this abyss harbors another, far more sinister rule, one that will make your blood run cold. Down here, it is not merely the darkness that is vast, the monstrosities that inhabit it are equally colossal. Biologists define this terrifying anomaly as deep-sea gigantism, driven by the bone-chilling, near-freezing temperatures and highly oxygenated waters. The cellular structure of these organisms undergoes a massive, unchecked hyper-expansion. Organisms that would comfortably fit in the palm of your hand in the sunlit world above mutate into nightmarish leviathans down in the dark. Finding that hard to believe? Then direct your attention to the abyssal floor and witness what is currently crawling through the gloom. Enter the Giant Isopod. Astonishingly, this armored behemoth is a direct evolutionary cousin to the tiny, harmless pillbugs you might find scurrying around your backyard garden. But down in these crushing depths, it has grotesquely expanded to the size of a football. It is the very embodiment of an extraterrestrial cockroach. Encountering this nightmare in the flesh would paralyze you with primordial dread. Yet, this creeping terror is merely the opening act, because we are about to cross paths with the very leviathan that has haunted the fevered tales of mariners for centuries, the mythical Kraken. Peer into the blackness, those two colossal, luminous orbs gleaming in the void. These eyes, each the size of a regulation basketball, are the largest visual organs of any living creature on Earth. This is the legendary giant squid, spanning a staggering 13 meters in length, the equivalent of a full-sized commercial school bus. Its massive, muscular tentacles undulate through the abyss like a nest of writhing serpents. We relegated the Kraken to the realm of myth and sailor's lore. But here, in the crushing depths of the Midnight Zone, the nightmare is terrifyingly real. Chapter 3: Monsters of the Abyss. Secure your harnesses and brace yourselves. If you feel a primal sense of dread creeping in, you are entirely justified. Because we are now descending into a pressure regime so extreme, the very laws of physics begin to buckle and warp. Look at the telemetry data. We have just breached 6,000 meters. We have officially left the pelagic oceans behind. We are now entering an abyss scientists classify as the Hadal Zone, a realm aptly named after Hades, the ancient Greek god of the underworld. To put it simply, we have just piloted our vessel straight into Earth's innermost hell. The hydrostatic pressure here is so incomprehensibly violent, a breach in this hull would pulverize your skeleton into fine dust in a fraction of a millisecond, which begs the ultimate biological question. In this frigid, crushing, absolute blackness, could life possibly endure? The answer is truly terrifying, because down here, survival demands that you become a monster yourself. But wait, is everything down here a nightmare? Direct your gaze through the viewport at that tiny, delicate creature drifting by. Astonishing, isn't it? Here in this abyssal underworld, where death dictates every waking second, resides arguably the most adorable creature on Earth. Meet the Dumbo octopus. Its oversized, ear-like fins bear an uncanny resemblance to Disney's famous flying elephant. It is the sole face of absolute innocence in this hellish landscape. But do not let this fleeting innocence lull you into a false sense of security, because the moment the Dumbo octopus retreats into the shadows, the true nightmare resumes. Look outside. Nothing but an oppressive, pitch-black silence. But wait, what is that solitary, captivating little light suspended in the distant blackness? Is it a beacon of hope, a way out of the abyss, a word of warning? Do not be drawn to that light. That is not hope. That is death incarnate. Behold the anglerfish, the living embodiment of a childhood nightmare, a phantom of the abyss that seduces its prey into the dark. Evolution has equipped it with a bioluminescent lure protruding from its skull. Unsuspecting prey, drawn to this beacon of false hope, wander closer, mistaking it for a meal, only to be instantly devoured. In this unforgiving realm, the most captivating beauty is often a herald of sudden death. Let us push the submersible further into the gloom. The sonar is picking up an anomaly. Something massive is gliding just beyond our hull. Look closely. That bizarre, pale pink apparition with flaccid, ghostly skin. This is the Goblin Shark. Marine biologists consider this apex predator a living fossil. It has been lurking in these lightless depths for 125 million years, a relic from the age of the dinosaurs. It appears incredibly sluggish and lethargic, doesn't it? But do not let its dormant demeanor deceive you. Did you see that? The instant its prey drifted within range, its entire jaw detached and violently lunged outward like an alien appendage, a biological spring-loaded slingshot. Before the prey can even process the ambush, it is already entombed within the Goblin Shark's stomach. In this abyss, lethargy is merely a weaponized illusion. Now direct your gaze to the desolate seafloor. Resting silently in the gloom lies the colossal, skeletal remains of a fallen whale. But these bones aren't bleached white. Why are they blanketed in crimson? It appears as though someone has draped a pulsating red carpet across the ribcage. Let us bring the submersible closer. Good God, that is no carpet. It is a writhing mass of parasites, zombie worms, and the most baffling biological anomaly. They possess absolutely no mouth and no digestive tract. So how on earth do they feed? They literally excrete flesh-melting acid directly onto the bone, dissolving the calcium structure into a nutrient-rich slurry which they simply absorb. In the deep, even death is never squandered. A rotting corpse becomes an entire thriving ecosystem. Yet amidst all these macabre leviathans, there is one entity that entirely shatters scientific logic. Look at that bizarre, seemingly lifeless clump resting in the corner. Measuring a full 4 inches across, you would be forgiven for assuming it's nothing more than a piece of sedimentary debris or a discarded sea sponge. But the staggering truth is, this is a xenophyophore. It is not an animal. It is a single, solitary cell. Yes, a single, solitary cell. We humans are complex biological machines comprised of trillions of cells. Even to observe a rudimentary amoeba, we require powerful microscopes. Yet here in the underworld, a single, isolated cell can expand to the size of the palm of your hand. This entity completely shatters every established paradigm of biological science. We have borne witness to the leviathans. We have observed bizarre chemical anomalies. Our submersible is now plunging past the 9,000-meter mark. Even the monsters have been left far behind. Now there is only us, our titanium hull, and the desolate precipice where the Earth itself draws its final breath. So brace yourselves, for we are about to cross the threshold into the abyssal domain of the God of Pressure. Chapter 4. The Challenger. Deep. 11,000 meters. Hold your breath. Lock your eyes on the submersible's telemetry. 9,000. 10,000. And now a staggering 10,900 meters. Did you feel that violent, shuddering impact? Yes, we have finally arrived. The absolute terminus of our world, the Challenger Deep. Forget stepping outside. Simply gazing through this reinforced viewport is a marvel of modern engineering. The hydrostatic pressure here is a staggering 1,086 bars. But that is not merely a statistic. Let's make it tangible. Look down at your own thumb. Now visualize the entire mass of a fully grown African elephant, precariously balanced on that single thumbnail. That unfathomable, crushing weight, bearing down on every single square inch of your body. If you were to step outside this submersible, your bones wouldn't merely break. They would be instantaneously pulverized into fine dust. Down here, pressure is the undisputed sovereign, and conventional biology dictates that under such catastrophic forces, life is an absolute impossibility. But wait, if this realm is utterly hostile to life, then what exactly are we looking at? These are hydrothermal vents, subterranean volcanoes violently erupting into the abyss, and that billowing black smoke, it is pure, superheated toxin. These are boiling cauldrons of toxic chemicals. In the sunlit world above, the entire engine of life is driven by solar energy. But down here, the sun is a myth. So what sustains the creatures of this abyss? Astonishingly, they feast on this very poison. Life in this extreme environment isn't fueled by light, but by lethal chemical reactions. This radical biological process is called chemosynthesis. And it was right here, in 2025, that scientists stumbled upon a miraculous discovery that left the global scientific community absolutely speechless. They christened it the Oasis of Life. At a crushing depth of nearly 9,533 meters, an entire thriving metropolis of giant tube worms and abyssal mollusks was uncovered. Complex biological ecosystems at such extreme depths had never before been witnessed. It radically redefines the absolute boundaries of life on our planet. But what stands as the apex entity in this hellscape? Some colossal abyssal leviathan? Hardly. Direct your attention to that tiny, gelatinous, pale pink organism drifting through the void. Meet the Mariana Snailfish, the deepest dwelling vertebrate on the planet. Looking at it, you'd think the slightest human touch would cause it to instantly disintegrate. So how on earth does this fragile entity withstand the crushing weight of 1,000 elephants? The secret to its survival lies hidden deep within its own anatomy. It possesses no rigid skeletal structure to be shattered. Its musculature is almost entirely gelatinous, and coursing through its bloodstream is a highly specialized molecule known as TMAO. This remarkable protein acts as a molecular scaffolding, fortifying its cells like a microscopic brick wall against the catastrophic pressure. It hasn't surrendered to the abyss. Rather, it has engineered a brilliant evolutionary compromise with nature. Now, we had always assumed that the absolute bottom would be a silent, barren wasteland. But when explorer James Cameron touched down here on March 26, 2012, what he witnessed utterly defied all scientific expectation. Cast your gaze across the sediment. At first glance, it appears to be littered with ordinary rocks and debris. But look closer. Those are not rocks. They are moving. These are holothurians, deep-sea cucumbers. As James Cameron himself described it, they were draped across the abyssal floor like a living, breathing carpet. These strange, slug-like entities are the undisputed lords of the underworld. They are the ultimate abyssal scavengers. Whatever perishes in the sunlit world above and drifts down into the dark, They systematically devour and eradicate. It is a profound irony, isn't it? We cast our telescopes upward in a desperate search for extraterrestrial life, while down here, the very bottom of our world is ruled by an empire of alien worms. Chapter 5. The Tsunami Factory. Suspended within these terrifying depths, it is easy to assume we are merely descending into a colossal pit. But that is a profound misconception. The abyss enveloping our submersible is no mere trench. It is an ancient, agonizing scar violently slashed across the very face of our planet. Here lie two colossal fragments of the Earth's crust, known as tectonic plates, and they are locked in a perpetual, catastrophic war. On one side, the sprawling leviathan that is the Pacific Plate. On the other, the significantly smaller Mariana Plate. Because the Pacific Plate is vastly denser and heavier, it is being violently forced underneath the Mariana Plate. Geologists define this violent process as subduction, but in layman's terms, the Earth is actively cannibalizing itself. It is an abyssal grinding machine, mercilessly devouring billions of tons of solid bedrock every single year. Yet, the true terror doesn't lie in the movement of these tectonic plates. The ultimate nightmare is when they stop. These tectonic boundaries are far from smooth. They are jagged, violent frontiers, and as they grind against one another, they occasionally snag and become completely deadlocked. The pressure mounts, building relentlessly, much like a colossal steel cable being stretched to its absolute breaking point, until, without warning, snap! The very millisecond this tension is unleashed, the seafloor violently ruptures upward. This is the genesis of a mega tsunami. The Mariana Trench is far more than a geographical depression. It is a geological time bomb. The catastrophic earthquakes and unparalleled devastation that have repeatedly shattered Japan. Their deadly roots can be traced directly back to this very fault line. The Mariana Trench is, in essence, a relentless tsunami factory, and its assembly line never halts. However, recently in 2025, scientists were forced to completely rewrite the blueprints of this factory. Groundbreaking research published by the British Geological Survey sent shockwaves through the global scientific community. We long assumed the Mariana Trench was a single, continuous chasm, but the staggering reality is, it isn't one trench at all. It is a fragmented chain of 5 entirely distinct alien worlds. The abyss is violently fractured into 5 isolated basins. This means that a biological organism evolving in Zone A is physically barricaded from ever reaching Zone B. Each basin acts as an independent crucible of evolution, harboring unique species and dictated by its own isolated set of biological laws. This isn't a single unified underworld. It is a labyrinth of 5 completely sequestered, abyssal chambers. Yet, the true terror of the Mariana Trench isn't defined by its seismic violence or its fractured topography. The ultimate dread down here is the sound. You might naturally assume that plunging to these depths, entombed beneath millions of tons of water, would yield absolute dead silence. A pin drop void. You would be dead wrong. In the dense medium of the ocean, acoustic waves travel more than 4 times faster and carry exponentially further than they do in the air we breathe. Down here, the violent fracturing of bedrock, the deep guttural rumble of a seismic tremor, every acoustic event reverberates with the concussive force of a detonating bomb. This abyss is not a sanctuary of peace. It is a terrifying, echoing cathedral of violent noise. Cast your mind back to the very beginning of our journey. Do you remember that sound? That bizarre anomaly recorded in 2014, an acoustic enigma that left the world's top marine acousticians utterly baffled. This acoustic anomaly is known as the biotwang. When it was first intercepted, it sent a chill through the scientific community. Was it the covert signature of a classified military submarine? Or perhaps something of extraterrestrial origin. Because what entity could possibly broadcast such a distinctly synthetic, mechanical frequency from 11 kilometers beneath the surface? After years of exhaustive acoustic analysis, the mystery has finally been unraveled. This transmission did not originate from a machine, but from a biological source, the minke whale. However, this was no ordinary cetacean. This was an entirely new, deeply adapted subspecies, specifically evolved to hunt in these lightless depths. Imagine an organic leviathan that mimics the synthetic pings of human machinery just to communicate through the abyssal void. In this sunken underworld, even the monolithic walls are listening. Chapter 6. The Dives and the Mystery. Having witnessed the terrifying depths of the Mariana Trench, its bone-crushing pressure, and the apocalyptic tsunami factory, any rational human being would instinctively recoil from this abyssal hellscape. But as human history has repeatedly proven, when the uncharted beckons, we trade our rationality for an unyielding, relentless obsession. We do not cower in the face of oblivion. We seek to stare directly into its unforgiving eyes. 12 humans have walked upon the surface of the moon, yet for decades, the absolute bottom of the Mariana Trench had been visited by only 2. Let us introduce you to these lunatics, or rather these legendary pioneers. Let us wind the clocks back. The year is 1960. 2 audacious explorers, Don Walsh and Jacques Picard, made a fateful decision to knock on the very gates of the underworld. Their vessel, the bathyscaphe Trieste, was a far cry from the sleek, high-tech submersibles of today. It was essentially a crude iron pressure cooker, a claustrophobic sphere offering barely enough room to breathe, let alone move. The agonizing descent took 5 grueling hours, but as they breached the 9,000-meter mark, an event occurred that made their blood run absolutely cold. A deafening, explosive crack shattered the silence. The outer pane of their reinforced viewport had buckled under the crushing pressure and fractured. The astronomical weight of 1,000 elephants was bearing down on that single, fragile hairline fracture. Had the inner glass failed, both men would have been violently pulverized in a fraction of a millisecond. They were staring absolute death in the face, yet they stubbornly refused to abort. They pressed on into the abyss, and upon touching down on the abyssal floor, they cemented their legacy in human history. But what they witnessed through that fractured viewport would completely upend marine biology. This was the birth of the flatfish mystery. Walsh and Picard claimed they observed a flatfish resting on the trench floor, a bottom-dwelling vertebrate with both eyes positioned on the upper side of its body. However, modern science dictates this is a biological impossibility. Beyond 8,500 meters, extreme pressure and calcium deficiency cause a fish's skeletal structure to simply dissolve. A complex vertebrate simply cannot survive in this crushing void. The lingering question remains, what exactly did they see down there? Did they truly stumble upon an undocumented species, or were they merely victims of nitrogen narcosis, the intoxicating delirium of the deep? A rapture of the deep that conjured phantoms out of the abyss. To this day, that mystery remains entombed at the bottom of the ocean. Following that historic dive in 1960, the trench was abandoned to absolute silence for over half a century. Until 2012, when visionary filmmaker James Cameron made a fateful decision to descend into the abyss himself. Only this time, the journey would be undertaken entirely alone. Suspended in that crushing darkness inside his tiny cockpit, Cameron later reflected, "It didn't feel like Earth at all. It felt like a desolate, alien world. The isolation was absolute. He experienced a profound, unbroken tranquility down there, a silence unlike anything else on our planet. But humanity's relentless drive to explore did not end with him. In 2019, explorer Victor Vescovo shattered Cameron's record, piloting his submersible to an unprecedented depth of 10,928 meters. And there, on the desolate abyssal plain, he encountered something bizarre. Scattered across the pale sediment were vibrant, glowing patches of orange, looking almost as if someone had spilled industrial paint across the seafloor. These were no geological formations. They were sprawling colonies of billions of extremophile microbes, organisms surviving entirely by consuming toxic chemicals and weaving themselves into vast living mats. The underworld is not a monochromatic void. It is painted in vivid hues of orange. And the discoveries? They are now rewriting textbooks on an annual basis. In 2020, China's Fenduje mission electrified the globe by broadcasting unprecedented live video feeds directly from the abyssal floor. In 2023, cameras captured a snailfish casually swimming at a staggering 8,336 meters, a biological feat that utterly shattered the established limits of vertebrate survival. But 2024 brought the most staggering revelation yet: the discovery of giant viruses thriving in the deep. Viral structures so massive they dwarf actual bacterial cells. This revelation is equally thrilling and terrifying. It proves that the crushing darkness of the Mariana Trench still harbors profound biological enigmas that possess the potential to revolutionize our world, or perhaps unravel it entirely. Chapter 7: The Human Footprint. As we began our descent into the unfathomable depths of the Mariana Trench, a multitude of scenarios played out in our minds. We wondered what awaited us 11 kilometers down, in that pristine, untouched silence. A primordial abyssal leviathan, the sunken riches of a lost Atlantis, or perhaps the first trace of extraterrestrial contact. We plunged into the abyss in search of miracles. We came here to rewrite human history, yet what awaited us on the abyssal floor instantly transformed a monumental triumph of science into a profound defeat for humanity. As Victor Vescovo peered through his viewport across this desolate alien landscape, his gaze snagged on an anomaly resting on the ancient sediment. It wasn't some undiscovered abyssal leviathan. It wasn't a bioluminescent marvel. It was a plastic shopping bag. Yes, a cheap, disposable, synthetic plastic bag. Consider this, in a realm so unfathomably deep that sunlight itself surrenders to the void, where the hydrostatic pressure would violently pulverize a steel submarine, our garbage has beaten us to the bottom. Nor was it an isolated incident. The expedition soon uncovered candy wrappers, discarded aluminum beer cans. What we romanticize as Earth's final frontier has been quietly transformed into our ultimate abyssal landfill. But the true horror story only emerged when scientists brought the trench's microscopic inhabitants, the amphipods, up to the surface for rigorous laboratory analysis. These are organisms whose entire evolutionary lineage has known nothing but absolute darkness for millions of years. Yet, deep within their digestive tracts, we found microplastics, synthetic fibers, traces of nylon. These fragile ancient creatures have never even encountered a human being. They have no concept of what humanity even is, and yet they are slowly perishing from the synthetic poisons we have manufactured. The fact that organisms so entirely disconnected from our surface world are suffering from our negligence is a profound and indelible mark of human shame. For centuries, we feared the mythical monsters lurking in the abyss, but that solitary plastic bag revealed a devastating truth: that the true monsters of this planet don't dwell in the deep. They live above, and they are none other than ourselves. But wait, is this the final chapter? Have we irreversibly doomed this underworld? Perhaps not, because nature is infinitely more resourceful and resilient than we could ever comprehend. Scientists isolated a highly specialized amphipod down there, known as Hirandelia gigas. But when they analyzed its biology, the global scientific community was left in absolute disbelief. Within its gut, they discovered a unique enzyme entirely capable of digesting synthetic plastics. Think about that for a moment. Where humanity introduced a seemingly indestructible poison, nature engineered an evolutionary antidote. This is perhaps the most profound miracle of the Mariana Trench. Against all conceivable odds, life always finds a way. So, As we ascend from the Mariana Trench, what exactly are we bringing back with us? Primal terror, synthetic waste, or just an all-consuming darkness? If you look closely enough, you realize this isn't merely a horrifying abyssal underworld. It is the ultimate crucible of hope. Astrobiologists theorize that billions of years ago, when Earth was little more than a hostile volcanic hellscape, the very first pulse of biological life may have ignited in an environment exactly like this. Right here, clustered around these scalding, deep-sea hydrothermal vents. In a very real sense, we are all children of this abyss. This realm teaches us an awe-inspiring lesson about the relentless tenacity of life. If biological organisms can withstand the crushing weight of 1,000 elephants, if they can literally ingest boiling toxins and thrive, it means the boundaries of life stretch far beyond anything we ever imagined. And it is precisely this revelation that compels us to cast our gaze upward toward the stars. If life can flourish here, within this abyssal hellscape on Earth, then perhaps it can take root anywhere in the cosmos. Perhaps right here within our own solar system, concealed beneath the frozen, subterranean oceans of Jupiter's moon, Europa, or Saturn's Enceladus. Similar biological miracles lie in wait. The Mariana Trench is not merely a geographic depression. It is the master key to unlocking the mysteries of alien worlds. We arrogantly assume we have fully charted our world, but the humbling truth is, we have barely deciphered the first page of Earth's encyclopedic history. Even today, a staggering 90% of our oceans remain an absolute enigma. We have no concept of what slumbers just beyond the next ridge, within the next lightless cavern, or deep within the next trench. Could the abyss hold the elusive cure for cancer? An entirely new, limitless paradigm of energy? Or perhaps a revelation so profound it completely redefines the very meaning of our existence? Our descent into the Mariana Trench concludes here, but humanity's true odyssey has only just begun. If you thirst for this endless voyage of scientific discovery, and if you wish to plunge with us into the universe's greatest unsolved enigmas, then join our expedition today. Hit that subscribe button and brace yourselves, because next time, we will tear open the gateway to an entirely new world. Until then, stay endlessly curious. We will return soon to unravel yet another profound mystery